people with, tell everyone that you can just to take a photo so we've got that evidence of like, this is something not natural. We don't know if they're using weapons against their own people, is what it seems like.
Channel, you know, so microwaves was the original weapon. But now what they do, and they microwave you on a large scale. And that's why all these people that are going to the protests, I can guarantee you're going to end up with tumours, you're going to end up with sicknesses, and you're not going to be able to tie them to the protest because you are not at that level of awareness to know this stuff. Because if you was, you wouldn't be at the protest. And if you were at the protest, you'd be there with a radiation suit. You know, you'd be there with protection, not there just standing there shouting rubbish for nothing rubbish. You know, every week we're up there protests. Your health more important. You know, you're there trying to save your health, but you don't realise that they're beaming you with frequencies to fuck up your health.
It's unbelievable. It's
at 18,000 and it's actually throwing the fucking meter out.
Yeah.
16, 19.
I've never seen it that high in my life.
Either.
I've never ever seen it that high in my fucking life.
That is getting fucking fried. That is getting microwaved.
Yeah,
Look, it's dropped out on peak.
Yeah.
20,000.
Yeah.
So what's that? 20 times the legal amount of EMF reading.
Yeah. It's more than I've ever seen in my life, ever. I've never seen more than that.
More like chemical burn.
Yep.
And these lips, some of the it does not affecting everyone the same. Obviously, all our bodies are different. Yep. So there were people in a first aid tent that were holding their ground because they had sick people there. We've got the blue shirt police that were fairly friendly.
Yeah.
Under the circumstances, and then you've got these other black ones. Our country's in distress. The fucking show is not as important as our parliament being taken over by foreign corporate entities, and these people are protecting the show instead of us. So I don't know what happened to that woman. These evil men in black got her. She was on her knees peacefully, and they're just yelling and screaming at her. They've got the dog going. I don't know if the dog got her, but one woman, I could have taken her down on my own. Not fucking 10 guys. I don't know, you know, like 6 guys on this woman and a fucking dog threatening her as well. It's just too much for our Australian people.
So we have to understand that for over 40 years, the U.S. military has quietly been pursuing silent weapons, frequencies, invisible weapon technology. And many contracts have been let to scientists aided by government research on the bioeffects of beamed energy. And they have already been using on a massive scale the electromagnetic and sonic spectrums for wavelengths that affect human behavior. This has already happened. It's already done. We're already all being affected. We're going to see mass chaos created by frequencies. I want to pull back into some of the wars that we've sent our soldiers to fight in as guinea pigs for depopulation. While I said that, I think it's most important for everybody to read Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. You can download that. It's just about 43 pages or so. I would recommend that everybody read that to understand what our soldiers and how our soldiers have been misused and sent onto battlefields simply for experimentation of new weapons and products, and for the banksters that fund both sides of all the wars. So this is a very sad amount of information I'm going to be giving you, but then I want to go over the circle of violence. So it's microwaving Iraq, pacifying rays pose new hazards in Iraq. So a man is telling us, Hank from Iraq is telling us he's still losing friends in Iraq, where frontline soldiers put their current casualty figures from all causes, combat, accidents, psychological crack-ups, and suicides, at 5,000 dead and 22 to 30,000 injured. Now, this is way back. Hank also blames those at the top for hospital counts of upwards of 65,000 children killed since 2003 invasion. Hank was concerned that the innocent Iraq families and unsuspecting GIs alike were being used as test subjects for new types of generation of psychotronic weapons using invisible beams across the entire electromagnetic spectrum to selectively alter moods, behavior, and bodily process. So I will add this. This is very much likely why we are seeing daily suicides of our Vietnam veterans, because this is the type of warfare that they faced. They were being hit with frequencies. The silent frequencies that daily were sweeping through the cities and other trouble spots are the same Navy frequencies that drove whales nuts and made them go astray onto the beaches. Now, we've seen many different types of marine species beach themselves, and that's because of frequencies. The Gulf War veteran also observed that occupied Iraqis have become a saturation environment for electromagnetic radiation. Lethal electromagnetic smog from high-power U.S. electronics and experimental beam weapons is placing already hard-hit local populations, particularly children, at higher risk of experiencing serious illness, suicidal depression, impaired cognitive ability, and even death. Now, I want you to move that into the United States and any country right now. This is the expected cause and the goal of these frequencies. We are being hit within the United States with these military weapons in the same way. So I'm going to continue on with this Iraqi report. American troops constantly exposed up close to their own microwave transmitters, battlefield radars, and RF weapons are also seeing their health eroded by electromagnetic sickness. It's common, Hank recalls, for GIs to warm themselves in the cold desert nights by basking in the microwaves radiating from their communications and radar rigs. They talk about how the constant microwave emissions from ground sweeping radar rigs and from mobile microwave networks are much more powerful even than our civilian microwave cell phones. But our cell phones have been linked to undeniable clinical studies to maladies ranging from asthma, cataracts, headaches, memory loss, early Alzheimer's, bad dreams, and cancer. So I'm suggesting that all of you consider how you reduce the wireless frequencies in your homes and around and near you. So continuing, many are already overloaded by constant adrenal stress, waterborne pollutants, infectious sand fleas, this is in Iraq, dehydration, pharmaceutical drugs, exposure to radiation, which is uranium-238, fired in hose them down exuberance by U.S. ground and air cannons and cruise missiles. Depleted uranium also, and medical investigations say large populated expanses in Kosovo, Afghanistan, Puerto Rico, and Iraq will remain lethally radioactive from made-in-America depleted uranium dust. Clinical tests have repeatedly showed how microwaves rev up cancer cells several hundred times, triggered by nuclear radiation, turned on by rogue electromagnetic warfare unleashed by U.S. forces. Human cancer cells have been found to continue proliferating wildly even after the power source is turned off. Mobile microwave weapons deployed in Iraq, they used even rooftop poppers and domes that were left to irradiate for days at a time, and they were irradiating unsuspecting Iraqi families and other families throughout the world that were already, again, coping with illnesses, wounds, hunger, and stress of losing their homes and loved ones, whose rotting corpses could not be buried under the sights of Marine snipers. And they talk about what happened to some long-suffering families in the in the Greenham Commons report. But I am looking at the clock, and I would like to say more about this other than to say that Russia and the United States and other countries have been radiating one another for a very, very long time. There was a sudden illness and cancer deaths of the U.S. Embassy staff in Moscow after being deliberately targeted with very weak pulsed microwaves by Soviet experiments, and fascinated CIA onlookers running Project Phoenix. And this was in 1962. They talk about very low frequencies. Weapons include dozens of poppers, again, poppers that they sit on roofs that have been deployed. And they can be dialed in long wave frequencies capable of traveling great distances through the ground or intervening structures. As Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Peter L. Hayes, Hays, Director of the Institute of National Security Study, reveals, transmission of long wavelengths and sound creates biological effects. Minimally, it causes nausea, loss of bowels, disorientation, vomiting, potential internal organ damage, or death may occur. And he also says that the very low frequency weapons are superior because their directed energy beams do not lose their hurtful properties when traveling through air to our tissue. A French weapon radiating at 7 hertz made the people in range sick for hours and hours, and we are being driven nuts by electromagnetic frequencies.